It's only January, so the growing season really hasn't got going yet, but if you're anything like me, you're going to be itching to even just sow or plant something. So here are the seeds that I'm sowing in January here in Ireland. Hey everyone, how's it going and welcome back. It's January and I am starting from scratch, and I mean from scratch. Other than the few strawberry plants I have and the apples out in the orchard, I have nothing growing in terms of vegetables, salad leaves or herbs. But although it's January, there are some things that you can start sowing. And now that I've cleared out the polytunnel, I'm really raring to go. Even just to get a few things started would be brilliant. So here's what I'm sowing right now in January. So first things first, and it's peas. But before I go any further, I want to give a really big shout out and thanks to Liz Zorab. I'll link her channel up above. Liz has a fantastic channel all about homesteading and self-sufficiency. She creates really useful videos. And in fact, I have been totally binge watching a series of videos that she's done where each month she talks about the seeds that you can sow. And in January, she sows pea seeds. But she sows them for a reason that truthfully I've just never considered, and it is such a good idea. Rather than sowing them to grow them on into plants where you'll harvest the peas, she sows them so that she gets pea shoots that you can put into salads and things like that. And I love that idea. Now, she grows them in guttering and I don't have guttering at the moment. So instead I'm going to grow them in these really large module trays. I'll probably put about 3 seeds per module, and each of these trays has 6 modules. So I'm thinking I'll probably start off with 3 of these trays and see how I get on. Now, in terms of the variety of pea, this is Cerisa, and I wish I could say that I chose it specifically for this purpose, but guess what? I didn't. I bought these last year and never got around to doing anything with them. So they are the perfect thing to have a bit of an experiment with, and I'll see how well they get on. And with any luck, in a few weeks, I'll have some nice pea shoots. So that's the first thing. On to the next thing. So the idea of growing pea shoots in the polytunnel wasn't the only idea that I got from Liz's video. She suggested a plant that I've never tried growing before, and it's this aubergine, and I am so excited to give them a go. I think it'll be really cool to be able to grow these by myself, but what they do need is they need shelter and they need heat and they need a nice long growing season if I'm going to get any fruit. So that's where the polytunnel comes in. I'm going to be sowing them into these little modules, but the other thing they need in order to germinate is some proper heat. So that's where this comes in. My electric, thermostatically controlled propagator. And now's probably a really good time to talk about knowing your own conditions. Although I'm sowing these things now in the middle of January, I live in Ireland and I live in a specific hardiness zone with a specific last frost date. It's really good to know what your own local conditions are, because that's going to inform what you can and can't sow. Like, I've got a polytunnel here in Ireland, and even sitting in here today, it's really quite comfortable. But equally, if it was in a much colder region, it's not going to be warm enough. So I'm in the USDA hardiness zone of 9A. Now I sit right just on that boundary between 9A and a little bit warmer. Ireland is really pretty cool and temperate. We don't get really big extremes of temperature, but I do live a little bit inland from the sea. I'm about 16 miles inland, and that means I sit right on the boundary when it comes to last frost dates. So the last frost date here is somewhere between the 20th or 21st of April all the way through to about the 10th of May. So that'll just give you an idea of the conditions I've got here. But this thing is going to be instrumental in getting some of my seeds, like the aubergines, going nice and early. I'll have this in the house, I'll set it to the temperature that it needs to be, and we'll get those seeds going. Now, I would say that I would link this down below if you wanted to buy one yourself, but this is really, really old. I was given this from my mum as a birthday present or a Christmas present when I was, I would say, about 15 or 16. So that means it's 20 years old. So you're not going to find it anymore. But if I can find one comparable, I'll put a link down below. So on to the next seed that I'm sowing. Next up, herbs. At the moment, I don't have any herbs growing, so I'm going to take some of my favourites and give them a go. I'm growing oregano, chives, and parsley, and this is parsley moss curled too. So a bit like the aubergines, they're going to be sown in these little small modules, and then I can plant them on into slightly larger containers. I'm going to grow them in 2 different locations. The first is going to be on my windowsill in the kitchen so that I can grow them on nice and quickly and I can have them there just to cut and cook with. The rest of them I'm going to bring back down to the polytunnel and grow them under the shelter of the polytunnel here. I've never done that before. I've certainly never grown herbs in a polytunnel in the middle of winter. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a go and I'll see. The other thing that I've never tried before is my next plant that I'm going to try sowing. Spring onions. Now, these are spring onion white Lisbon, probably the most common one that you can buy. So common, in fact, that they sell them as value twin packs. So I have about 1,300 seeds of white Lisbon spring onions. So I'm going to be sowing them into these larger modules. I'll successionally sow them through the year, but I'm going to give them a go nice and early and I'll see if I get something. I think I should, and what it should reward me with is a nice crop of spring onions very early in the spring when most people will probably only be getting them going. Now, all of this I think brings me on to my next point, which is about balance. When it comes to seed sowing, like anything else in the garden, it's all about balance. What you don't want to do is blow all of your seeds in one go for them maybe not to germinate or for you to not be able to do anything with. And that's exactly what I'm dealing with here. I could grow all sorts of other things like cauliflowers or broad beans, but at the moment I don't have the growing space. I haven't developed the polytunnel yet, that's still to come. I don't even have a veg garden, there's no raised beds yet. So what I'm aiming to do is grow small amounts of things successionally that I can grow in containers and things that don't take that much room. Things like herbs or spring onions or salad leaves, things like that. So that way I'm just being that little bit careful about what I'm sowing, but hopefully at the same time I'm sowing just enough that I'm going to have something to harvest through the back end of the winter and very early spring. Another module tray, and the next set of seeds I'm going to be sowing are leaves that I can have in salads. Now, I'm not a big fan of spicy leaves like mustards or things like Matsuna, and in fact I looked at the bag of salad that we had at home to see the kind of things that I'd like, and I've replicated that in terms of seeds. So the things I'm going to be growing are lamb's lettuce. You can sow this all the year round. It's going to work hopefully really nicely. I was about to say it's going to work really nicely. I've never tried it at this time of year, so fingers crossed. I'm going to be growing some kale, but I'm not going to be growing it to have kale plants. I'm going to be growing it as little baby leaves that I can harvest. I'm going to grow some rocket. It's really nice to include in a salad. I'm also going to try a couple of things I've never tried before. The first one is perpetual spinach. I've only ever grown regular spinach. I've never tried perpetual spinach, so I'm going to be really interested to see how that gets on. And beet leaves. So these are beetroot bolt hardy. Again, I'm not growing these for the beetroot, I'm growing them for the baby leaves. Again, I got a nice big twin pack, so I've got, oh God, over 500 seeds, so I've got plenty to try. Now, a bit like all the other seeds, I'm only going to be sowing a few of each of these, maybe a line or two in the module tray. I'll see how they get on. If I have success, then I'll successionally sow, and with any luck, I'll have some nice leaves. Now, I'm also going to try a couple of risky things. These are things that I just have no idea whether they're going to work, and I will report back. So, first is lettuce salad bowl, and the other one is a mix of salad leaves that I got last year from the seed company that is a whole mix of different things. It is, as far as I'm aware, it is out of season to try these, but I'm going to see if I give them a little bit of heat, can I get them going? And then if I bring them down into the polytunnel, will they work? Fingers crossed they do. But if all of that works, I'm going to have a lovely selection of baby salad leaves that I can pick through the back end of the winter. And yeah, fingers crossed. So that is all of my veggie seeds sown, but I am not done yet because I've already sown one type of flower that I want to get going nice and early, and that's sweet pea. I've gone with sweet pea heirloom mix, which is a lovely old-fashioned variety that's got a whole mix of whites and pinks and purples. You cannot beat the scent of sweet pea. I love it, and I haven't grown them for years. You see, I've got this idea that I'm going to grow a sweet pea arch, or even a couple of sweet pea arches, once I've got the veg garden made. So I've already sown them into these root trainers. These things are so handy. You can reuse them year after year, which is brilliant because the whole thing is really quite sturdy. But the most important thing is that they give each seedling a nice long root run, which is what they want to develop into nice stocky plants. Plus, because they're getting sown now, they've got lots of time to develop into nice stocky plants before I plant them out, and hopefully that means I'm going to have loads of flowers. So all that's left to do now is to pop a label in it that I've already got written. I'm being more organised in 2021. I am going to label everything. I was shocking at it in 2020. So pop the label in, it needs some water, and then the root trainer actually comes with a little plastic lid that I can put over the top. These don't need any specific heat in terms of a propagator. They're just going to stay in the polytunnel until they start to germinate, and then I'll lift the lid and let them develop from there. But I'm really looking forward to getting these going. So that's everything that I'm sowing here in Ireland at the minute. What are you sowing at the minute? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm really interested to hear what you're choosing to go with and how you're getting on with it. As ever, if you enjoyed this, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell icon. That way you'll be notified when I post my next video. And until next time, see you later. Another module tray, another little module tray, another module tray,